Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Friday, June 21st. It's the Assiniboine Community Committee meeting. It's 1 p.m. instead of our normal 9:30 morning start. I'm Councillor Dobson. I will be the chair today. We have with us Councillors Duncan and Councillors Lukes. From our clerks, we have Ms. Cohen, and we have a couple of people from our public service. I would like to read the land acknowledgement right now. I would like to acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. At this point, I would like one of the councillors to move the minutes of the May 27th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Now I would like someone to put a motion to suspend the rules to allow 2 addendum items. Councillor Lukes. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Now I'd like to pass it on to our clerk.
Okay, so first we have delegations. David Hill, Senior Development Manager, Streetside Developments, is here with respect to report 4, the plan approval at Joe Keeper Way. Is David here in the gallery?
Right here.
Yep, you can come up to the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Open the secret.
Yes,
Right,
please.
Marianne, yes.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm here mainly to answer questions about our plan proposal. It's for a 24-unit townhome project on Joe Keeper Way. It's phase 2 of a project we started that was approved in 2022. It's just adjacent to that. So it's the same condo corporation and it's the same features in this building and the grounds and the parking. It's slightly smaller. Phase 1 is 36. Phase 2, this one today is 24. So I'm here mainly just to ensure that if there's any questions, concerns about it, we've been working hard on. It's been in zoning review now for 5 months. It's, I guess, I'm not too sure why, but in any case, it's nothing new that wasn't approved previously, and it's the same condo corp and the same condo. But in any case, I'm here just to ensure that we can proceed with this project. It's kind of urgent. Our owners, we've got our first homeowners moving into the first phase this month or in July, and they really can't get title because it's a phase condo. They're not able to get title to their places until we proceed and get our phase 2 registered. So it's getting fairly urgent, and that's kind of why I'm here, just to make sure that there's no bumps in the road in terms of proceeding from here.
Okay. Thank you very much. It looks like a wonderful project to me.
No, it's a great project, and I'm looking at the email and I can't believe today's Friday. You sent it to me Tuesday. So no, I'm very sure. I'm sorry you had to come down. This is great. We've seen other phases go in. Tell me more about why it took 5 months.
I'm not too sure. It was with the zoning officers that there was a change in the zoning officers, and they had to start from square one because we applied for the Bearland, and for some reason they couldn't do the plan approval in the Bearland application concurrently. I don't know why, but they had to start from ground zero about a month and a half in, so we had to start the zoning review all again. And I don't think the zoning officers were really familiar with the phase 1 at all. So, for example, we had 2 variances on phase 1 for parking and the enclosed, the underground garbage. This one, we've got 9 variances, and some of my, quite honestly, I can't understand completely. But just in the interest of expediting this, we thought, well, we'll just proceed. I think either Devin or Robert stepped in and said, we got to get this one moving. So appreciate that. But other than that, I don't know why it took so long. It's not a complicated project. It's got some unusual features with our urban patios that maybe got confused with decks or something somehow. But there was a lot of issues raised with the zoning officers who didn't really seem to understand that we've been through this whole process already on phase one.
Like,
So,
did you not, you pointed out phase one time?
yeah, and it didn't really make much of a
So you
difference.
started out with as zoning officer, you got into it for about a month and a half
Yeah.
or 2 months?
Right, and back and forth, they had questions and
Okay,
they wanted equivalency reports on the garbage, for example, and wanted to change our sidewalks and so forth. And then we discovered that at that point, they said, well, you're not going to be able to get title to this. You can get, we can keep going on this Bearland application, but you won't be able to complete the application without your title. Actually go through registered through line titles. And at that point, well, we can't wait for that.
No,
Like that'll be
no,
for
no,
years from now. So
no,
they said, well, how can we, what's the best way to proceed?
right?
And they gave us an option. They said, well, you can withdraw this application and start your plan approval now. And we were very surprised, but we have to start from ground zero on this. So that was the situation. We said, well, that's the best way to move forward because we were trying to ask for a clarification. Do you want us to do the Bearland first, the plan approval first, the development application? And we really couldn't get an answer except, do you want to withdraw the Bearland application? So that's where things stood. So we said, well, withdraw, we've got to get plan approval. We can't get a title without the city
Yeah.
legal department approving this thing. So that's what happened. I don't know if it was just maybe some inexperienced new zoning officers. I'm not too sure what the situation
And how did you
was.
communicate with them? Through email or phone call? How was that process?
We were emailing them. Well, it was very rare. We got a phone call returned, but we did email them. We did set up one Zoom meeting with the both of them together because we thought that might facilitate things, but it really didn't. It didn't lead to much, many solutions at that point. We were more or less at ground zero, almost 2 months into the application. So, and that we put the application in February. So.
This is the same, it's sort of like just a carbon copy of what we already have.
Yeah, that's what we thought. We were trying to, save you can save yourself a lot of time by just looking at the previous file. This is a sister
Right.
development to it,
Right.
but I'm not too sure why it wasn't explored on their end because we were literally giving explanations for all kinds of the garbage, the width of the sidewalk. We're trying to explain the pedestrian pathways and
This was through emails or meetings or?
this was mainly through emails, and we usually thought we'd made some headway, and the zoning officer the next week would come back and there'd be 5 more questions about various concerns they had regarding our, I guess our urban patios are a bit unusual.
I know, but we already did it. We've done it.
Exactly, and we thought, we've been through this, and we've been through even the parking, it's on a rapid, it's going to be a feeder to the rapid transit. There's lots of visitor parking on the streets. So we thought that was pretty transparent, but at the end of the day, it took a long time to get to this point. And I think there was a decision down there that somebody had to move this forward because we're getting in the stage now that it's going to be really difficult for the people who are moving in to even get title to their places. So that's where things stand. I really appreciate being here. Finally, at this point, I think I have to give credit to either Devin or Robert for getting this through finally. But
Now, what about the sidewalks? Like you're in prime runway to the schools, right?
right,
So tell me what we think the sidewalks will be like come October. Do you think they'll be finished in September, October?
for ours, I'd have to talk to.
Maybe not for this one.
Yeah, I doubt it because
Yeah. No, I know. I doubt.
we haven't even got our building permits started yet, so I doubt that will happen.
And are you involved directly on the other one?
Yeah, we are. We're doing the 3 stories across from phase 1 as well, and I think that a lot of the groundworks is slated for the summer on that one.
Okay.
But we were really concerned because we thought if we didn't hit this community committee meeting, we would lose the whole construction season for ours. So I think that's why I appreciate that somebody sense the urgency of getting this through.
Okay, well, I'm really sorry for the delay. We've got changes underway, but they aren't happening fast enough. So thank
We're not
you.
there yet.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Any
I
other
have no
questions?
questions, no.
No more questions except for apologizing
Oh,
for taking so
that's-
long.
Yeah, appreciate being here again. Thanks.
Okay. No more delegations, so we're gonna start the reports. Okay, I guess we're starting the reports. The first report would be the occasional liquor permit.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Non-conforming approach on 126 Trail Avenue.
Let me take the chair, Counselor Dobson. It's in your in your ward.
Certainly.
Okay, all right, I'll have the chair. So non-conforming approach, the public service is recommending it. Any comments, questions?
Well, I've gone down that street many times and that particular approach on that side of the street, there's lots of them. So this would be more of the same and I consider this to be reasonable.
Okay, so what is your motion to accept the public services recommendation?
Absolutely.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 3, plan approved. Oops,
Sorry, Counselors, we just need that supporting reasons.
Supporting
as well.
Oh, supporting reasons, for the very reason that other residences on the same side have a front approach as well.
Great.
Okay. Okay, item number 3,
Just need to call the question.
all the
Yeah, call the question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, can we do item number 3 for 3636 Portage Avenue? It's a plan approval. And again, I guess I'll keep the chair just because
Sure,
it's in
keep
your ward. Oh, no, it's in your ward. Oh, I'll give you the chair back.
I'll
Sorry.
take a chair.
Okay, it's Friday.
Yeah, can I just have a brief overview by the public service, please?
Yeah, sure. So we're here with the plan approval today with respect to an existing auto dealership building. They're proposing some expansion, a couple of different expansions to the building. One minor one for a tool room and another for a showroom. Through that review, it was identified that some pre-existing variances that had been approved prior but never formally established were required to be applied for again. So there's an associated variance application that is being processed at the same time as this review. We finalized that review, recommended support for it. So we're really just going through the process of getting these plans approved, and ultimately after that variance clears, they can apply for their permits.
So we've had a few of these auto dealer, essentially facelift renovations, bringing them up to the modern times to serve the customers. Why do these continue to come forward and why can they not be administratively approved?
Yeah, I would say the way that the conditions are written and they're caveated on title through the zoning agreement is that any development, any building, any changes are required to come back to the Assiniboia Community Committee prior to the issuance of permits. So the way that it's written effectively directs the city to adhere to that legally binding policy. And so for that reason, we have to bring it back. Yeah, so that's the reason that it's coming back.
So, sorry, Madam Clerk, if I may, Mr. Chair, is there something that we could potentially put forward to amend these policies, or is there?
It was part of the original zoning agreement that was approved by council. So as part of that zoning agreement, they required that the owner provide plans to the Director of Property and Development and the Community Committee prior to the issuance of any development permits. So if there were a change to the zoning agreement, I think it would have to be done. It would have to be a hearing, I imagine.
Yeah, that would be a zoning agreement amendment.
So would it be by case, or could we do it as a blanket?
I don't know for sure. I'm thinking case by case. I don't think we could really capture it all in under one umbrella. Going forward, it's possible that you could write conditions in a way that either don't require community committee plan approval if you don't deem it to be necessary
For future,
for future. So from anything that
anything from,
Yeah.
today forward, okay.
or provide different sort of wording with respect to the initial build.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Community plan.
If there's no other questions from Mr. Lukes, I'd like to move the recommendation of the Urban Planning and Design Division for approval.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Motion carried. Plan approval, 40 Joe Keeper Way.
Okay, so plan approval, let me just pull it up here. I don't know, does the department have anything to say about this?
No, we're supportive of the plans.
No, any idea why it was delayed so long? Of course not.
Well, I think there's background, the back and forth between the zoning and the applicant.
So it sounds like you were sort of break the lock, break the gate, or what did you do?
I'm not sure. I'm not necessarily sure that I was the lock breaker, but I think just having those conversations with zoning, identifying what the issues are. A number of variances were identified, and we had to process a variance application.
So is it because there were multiple variance applications that it took so long, or was it because the zoning officers maybe were juniors, or like there was another example of one that we've done, like I'm just, we're trying to move this stuff along, and I'm just wondering what your perception or interpretation is of the delay.
I can't say for sure.
Okay,
It's hard to say.
okay, well, we'll ask the
We were
director.
just trying to speed it up, that's all.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, how did you speed it up?
I guess having conversations with zoning to identify what the previous the issues were with the application and the review, and indicating what our level of support was for certain variances, which we were supportive of, and identifying how we can I guess just help move it forward as best as possible.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'll put a motion forward that I'm supportive of the Urban Planning and Design Division's recommendations on the plans.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Number 5, extension of time.
Sure, I'll move the motion to provide an extension of time for this project.
For 230 University Crescent Parcel A Plan 1782,
Correct.
1786.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Okay,
Now we go right into addendum reports. Okay, plan approval 2320 McGillivray Boulevard.
sure. So if the department could give me a breakdown on this, what the changes are?
Yeah, sure. So the application is for the proposed multifamily building that came to committee last year. Some minor changes were made to the application from the previous iteration that came to this committee. Ultimately, the number of dwelling units came down from 293 to 280. And subsequently, the parking was reduced in correlation to the number of units on the same ratio. So parking was approved at a 1.3 stalls per unit ratio.
Mhm.
The parking came down in correspondence with that. And so we were actually able to handle that change through a parking management plan administratively, reviewing it, identifying the same ratio was applied. Subsequent variances were identified in the initial review, but the applicants were able to remove those variances so that we didn't have to process that through another community committee hearing. Effectively, everything else is the same, some minor changes on site from the previous iteration. We are still working with solid waste with respect to the garbage pickup and the locations, as well as some of the turning radius. So as such, we've recommended a condition on the plan approval that will allow us administratively to determine, appropriate locations when they do get that final confirmation from solid waste.
These aren't the underground waste receptacles.
No, at grade.
At grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and what other significant changes?
I think just sort of a more refined building plans.
Well, like you describe it, how they're more refined.
I don't have a comparison between the previous and the current, but I guess just finalization of the building materials, some of the locations of the doors, some enhancements around some of the entry points we were able to address. Yeah, I think it's effectively very much the same building in the same location, with some minor changes that we typically see when people bring it more closely to building permit stage.
What percentage of the units will be affordable? The same? It was 25? Is that the same?
I believe so. I didn't hear any changes identified in the application that it was going to be any reduction in the affordable housing.
Okay. Okay, great, okay.
Any other-
I don't know if there's if there's no other questions, I can move this, I'll move
Okay.
it. So I'll support the urban planning and design division's recommendations of the submitted plans for 2320 McGillivray Boulevard. It's a great project.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And just to confirm, councillors, that was with the exception of the garbage enclosure location.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Great, thank
Okay.
you.
With that, all those in favor?
Aye,
Motion carried.
okay.
Now, number 7 is the citizen member appointment, Assiniboine Library Advisory Committee.
Let me take a chair for you,
I can do it if you want.
okay?
So this was put forward by Winnipeg. Just want to get the name right here, Winnipeg Public Library Advisory.
It was put forward by the library board.
The library board, thank you very much. So this will be a member actually who lives in my ward, which is good news to have local representation within the Assiniboia Community Committee. So
Great choice.
I will I will move the recommendation of the Winnipeg Library Board.
Just to confirm, councillor, it's the appointment of Janice Reyes Bain to be appointed to the Assiniboia Library Advisory Committee for the balance of a 2-year term expiring December 31st, 2025.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, motion to adjourn till our,
Motion to adjourn until the hearing start at 1:30.
all in favor? Nope.
Aye.
Carried. Well, it's been doing
Yeah,
it for
whatever.
a year and a half, sorry.
Come
Okay. All right.
We got about 4 minutes.
Okay, that's good. Good timing.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Assiniboine Community Committee. We're on our hearing portions. It's 1:31 right now, and I will pass it on to our clerk.
Okay. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered for in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the public hearing process brochure, which is available on the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and should be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item 1 is a subdivision and rezoning at 2675 Portage Avenue under file BAS 10 of 2024. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 2 is a variance at 2675 Portage Avenue under file DAB 136543 of 2024D. Please note additional communications were received in support of the matter after the agenda was published, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. So if there's a brief overview from the public service.
Alrighty. Thank you. The subject site is located at 2675 Portage Avenue. It's located on the north side of Portage between Harcourt Street and Ronald Street within the Booth neighborhood of the St. James ward. The lot size is approximately 34,000 square feet and is an approximate 7,000 square foot commercial building currently on site. The property is zoned C2 and falls within Area 2 of the Airport Vicinity Protection Area. Under the Complete Communities Direction Strategy, the site is located within the Regional Mixed-Use Corridors Policy Area. The applicant is proposing to consolidate the underlying lots and rezone the land to the RMU Residential Mixed-Use Zoning District. The proposed building is 7 stories, just under 73 feet. And is planned to contain 1 commercial unit of approximately 855 square feet and 150 residential dwelling units. The 150 dwelling units will be comprised of studio 1 and 2 bedroom units. A total of 60 units will be affordable and described by the proponents as 70% of median market rents. A total of 81 parking stalls are proposed, with 44 stalls below grade and 37 stalls at grade behind the building. Indoor secure bicycle parking is also proposed. 22 spaces are required under the zoning bylaw. 8 spaces are proposed on the exterior of the building and 14 spaces within the building. Landscaping is proposed to comply with the street edge, building foundation, and parking area requirements. And there are associated variances with the application, primarily with respect to yard setbacks, density increase, and parking reductions. The Urban Planning Division is recommending approval of the applications with condition on the subdivision and rezoning application that includes a zoning agreement and plan approval by the community committee. We are also recommending conditions on the variances. The first being a requirement for a signed letter of commitment with a government funder being submitted to the city, confirming the provision of a minimum of 60 affordable dwelling units prior to the issuance of building permits. And we're also recommending that the development include a total of 44 bicycle parking stalls, of which a minimum 30 bicycle stalls shall be located within a fully enclosed and or secure all-weather protected bike parking area. And this is primarily to satisfy the parking criteria under the affordable housing reductions with respect to the parking numbers. So as mentioned, 2 of the significant details of the proposed development are a density variance for lot area per dwelling unit of 231 square feet instead of the 500 square feet as required in RMU, as well as a parking reduction variance of 81 stalls instead of the 145 stalls that are required. The Urban Planning Division is supportive of these variances, given that the density proposed is with respect to the inclusion of 60 affordable housing units. The proposed density is also consistent with the established density at a neighboring multifamily residential complex on Ronald Street. So with that, I will conclude my summary and open it up to any questions if you have any.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so what is the parking ratio now? Like, I know we're moving towards it. Are we sort of allowing it now, the parking ratio for deeply affordable units?
Yes, so as of February 2nd, 2023, the city had approved this parking reduction program to consider the 0.15 stalls per unit when it's
0.15 for deeply affordable.
Yeah.
Was it 1.18 for the others?
We don't have a set metric for others at this point in time. The point
So
one,
it's not 1.5 for the others?
based on the
Parking
zoning bylaw.
ratio? Yeah,
Sorry, yes, the zoning bylaw ratio, it starts off at 1.5. And then because it's a mixed use building, it gets reduced 80% of that. And then because it's located within an urban infill area, a further 80% reduction on top of that. And so that's how we end up with the requirement for the 145 parking stalls.
and there's commercial on the main level?
Commercial, 855 square foot commercial unit being proposed.
So 1 unit.
1 stall, 1 unit, yeah, pretty much.
And there's capacity.
Yes, yeah. Yes, there is.
Yes, okay, all right. Nice. Okay.
Okay, Councillor Duncan.
Was there any feedback from transit?
No, we didn't hear from transit, based on the transit master plan. I guess usually we'll hear, if they have issues but there is fully supportive of, the transit in this location as it currently operates, very frequent as it is, high frequent. And under the transit master plan, it identifies 2 rapid transit corridors basically converging to the southwest of the site. Yeah.
Very good spot. South and east.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have an opinion from transit on this, just because the proposed lines for the Rose Line and Blue Line first intersect on Portage Avenue at Booth, which is a block away from the proposed site. and would be optimized by as much density as possible in that location, I would say. But we have nothing from transit on that.
Transit comments were they have no concerns under the approved Winnipeg Transit Master Plan. This location is adjacent to rapid transit lines A and C, Class 1 on Portage Avenue, to be implemented within 3 years. Existing transit service on Portage Avenue will remain in effect until Winnipeg Master Transit Plan implementation. So it's pretty much a support.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect them not to support it. It would just be nice if there was feedback given. We're investing tens of hundreds of millions of dollars into a transit master plan that literally has the intersection of two of the main lines a block away.
Nobody wanted me to say.
Here we go. Yeah, I just wanted on.
It's a great spot.
I just wanted on the record. Well, and if they would encourage further density in this location,
Right.
then the number of units proposed.
Let's find out why they
Yeah.
propose what they propose.
Yeah, it's an absolutely perfect spot considering you have two different lines going right by it. The blue line and the rose line.
Okay, any more questions?
No more questions?
Okay, so first we'll call up the applicant, Brendan Johnson, to be heard in support of the application.
Good afternoon. If it's all right, can Brendan Salek and I share our time for the committee?
Yes.
As long as the committee's okay with it.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so Brendan Zalico is joining Brendan Johnson.
Brendan and Brendan.
Yes.
Let's get set up here. We can just wait 1 minute while they fix something.
We able to
We're good?
get that label off somehow?
Is that yours?
No, it's not showing up.
Okay.
He's speaking a different language. That's what he's asking us.
Towards the mumbling very
Sorry.
based
Oh,
off of
it's
the
crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
There-
Just wanted to make sure.
Can I-
Oh, that's the one.
Oh,
Yes,
page 6 of
No worries.
35 on the various.
perfect.
Okay, it's the administrative report.
I see that.
Great, there we go.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
All right, my name is Brendan Salico. I'm a planner and partner at Landmark Planning and Design, and I'm joined today by my colleague Brendan Johnson and our colleague Chris Soames. And before we get started, just want to thank the committee, clerks, the administration, of course, and those who are here for what we think is a very exciting proposal for 2675 Portage Avenue. So in terms of our applicant team, Paragon Design Build, they're a local Winnipeg developer and builder. Affinity Architecture led the building design process, and our firm, Landmark Planning and Design, we led the planning, stakeholder engagement, and development approvals processes for this proposal. In terms of the site context, the subject site, there might be a bit of lag with the slides there, so bear with me. The subject site is about 36,000 square feet in area. It's bounded to the north by a rear lane, to the east by some commercial buildings on Portage Avenue and then Hartford, to the south by Portage Avenue itself, and then to the west by Dairy Queen and then Ronald Street. In terms of the neighborhood context, this is a neighborhood that we feel is very well suited to support this type of development. As Councillor Duncan noted, great transit service currently, as well as great transit service or even better transit service in the future, where those two routes, the blue line and the rose line, will converge just a block away from the site. In terms of active transportation, this location is quite well served and within the city's existing and expanding active transportation network. There are routes along the Sturgeon Creek Parkway, along Moray, along Bruce, and along the Assiniboine River as well. There are already several mixed-use and multifamily residential developments in the vicinity of the site, as was noted by the planner. And there are a number of existing commercial services and amenities within close proximity to the site as well. Suffice to say that all of our planning documents are Winnipeg Complete Communities 2.0, our transit master plans, are very supportive of a project like this one. You know, our language, our policies, and our objectives, particularly along these regional mixed-use corridors, call for things like residential intensification, diversifying our housing options to accommodate a wide variety of household types, abilities, and stages of life, encouraging development to enable a really comfortable pedestrian realm and pedestrian environment, compact urban form to help manage the extension of municipal services for new growth, integrating land use and transportation, in this case, high-mode transit, and then finally promoting a more fine-grained, transparent street-level facade and urban form by activating the ground floors with multiple uses. So we'll hop right into the proposed design. As you see here, it's a 7-story mixed-use building. Again, there's one commercial unit at grade fronting onto Portage at the southwest corner, 150 residential units, which include 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. 3-bedroom units being great to see in projects like these because they can allow for families to move in. And as was noted by the planner as well, this would actually be that next level, the deeply affordable housing through the CMHC co-investment fund. 81 parking stalls included designated stalls for the commercial retail unit, as well as visitor parking, and bicycle parking, both indoor secure and outdoor racks, and then new landscaping throughout the site. Here's just a high-level overview. So an aerial photo here, you can see it's a U-shaped building, a lot of landscaping focused along the periphery, and then parking tucked in the back. Here's a view looking north. There it is. See the DQ in the bottom left-hand corner there. And you can see, again, the efforts made to really activate that street front by bringing the building close up to the street. Here's another view. You can see a little bit of the Courts of St. James there in the background on the left-hand side. Again, trying to activate that street through landscaping and through multiple entranceways. Here's an aerial photo looking north. There it is. And you can really see here that this scale of project and this size of project fits in well with that existing context and the context that we would expect to develop along Portage Avenue in the coming years. Here's a northwest view. Again, we'll touch on it later, but a lot of attention was paid to the condos directly to the north, Kensington Place. A lot of support and good feedback from those folks. Some of the changes we were able to make to address concerns about privacy and shadows, and we'll get to those shortly. Here's a street level view. Again, you can see the Courts of St. James on the left-hand side and some of that commercial in the vicinity. Another street view here is looking towards the northwest to get a sense of that scale of that bulk. And then finally, again, just a view looking towards the southwest. There it is, where you could see that attention was paid not to have balconies directly on that north facade, because that was one of the key concerns that we heard from the residents in the building directly across the lane. So we do want to spend a couple minutes just touching on our approach to public consultation and stakeholder engagement. So it was a 2-round process that took place last fall. On that first round of meetings, we came out and met with residents, neighbors, stakeholder groups to share some preliminary design concepts, which included a range from the current height up to around 12 stories. And at that second round of meetings, we came back, shared a preferred design concept, which is this application concept, and shared with folks how we were able to address their concerns through the design and through the planning process. After all of that wrapped up, including the pre-application with the City of Winnipeg, we submitted that development application early in the new year. So what did we hear from residents over the course of those 2 rounds and after as well? One of the early concerns or comments was about height and massing. So again, we were able to move forward with the 7-story concept, which was able to address some of those concerns about height and about shadows. The Portage right-of-way, definitely a wide right-of-way here. That's something that we often look to as a city as a proxy for height. So, you know, the height, as was mentioned, you know, in the low 70s, whereas that right-of-way here is about 131 feet. Proposal features a mix of materials, colors, and a lot of articulation, which helps reduce the feel of scale and bulk of the building on Portage. And then various street-level design elements really help to maintain that pedestrian-oriented environment. The architects, they took care of the shadow study, which was prepared to really show that the shadow impacts wouldn't negatively impact, particularly folks directly to the north in Kensington Place. So the study confirms that the proposed development exceeds the city standards in terms of sunshade. And then, like we mentioned, there's a combination of setbacks, window placement, and the fact that there are no balconies directly on that north face, which helps address some of those early privacy concerns that we heard from neighbors. In terms of roads and traffic, Public Works indicated that traffic volumes aren't a concern in this location. We are widening the lane in this particular location by 4.5 feet, which is fine. And then in terms of parking, as was noted, there are reductions for being in the urban infill area, for having a mixed use project, and then for those deeply affordable units as well. However, we are still having dedicated stalls for the unit, for the retail unit, I should say, as well as for visitors. And then the proposed development is again located in an excellent location for transit, for AT, and for walkability as well, with a lot of the shops and services in close proximity. And then just lastly, of course, folks are always concerned about potential construction impacts. Paragon is excellent in terms of the way they go above and beyond with their courteous construction guidelines. So they keep folks informed about things like when piles are going to be delivered, when they can expect maybe disruptions in the lane and those types of things. So that was something that we shared with residents that they were quite happy about. And then finally, in terms of unit typology, typically for a building like this, we see a lot of 1 and 2 bedrooms, but there would be 3-bedroom units as well, which can accommodate families, which we love to see. And then if approved, 40% of the dwelling units would be deeply affordable under the co-investment program. Just lastly, we did want to touch on City of Winnipeg collaboration. So we work very closely with Mr. Clark and his team in planning over the course of this project, including through the formal pre-application process, as well as several meetings over the last 1.5 years. We were able to make a lot of changes based on some of those suggestions that came from the city, and we're in full agreement with the recommendations in the planner's report and the HCG report as well. So just to summarize, we feel that this is an excellent proposal for this location in Portage Avenue. The site is located in an area that's very well suited to support it. It addresses the policies of all of our overarching planning documents, as well as our transit documents. It increases housing choice to really help meet resident life cycle needs, including the deeply affordable units, but also accessible units, fully elevated, all of the wider door widths and things like that. It addresses resident and stakeholder concerns while really mitigating potential negative impacts. And then it is the result of a comprehensive collaborative process that took place not only with stakeholders, but with the City of Winnipeg administration as well. So with that, I just want to thank you for your consideration on this file. And we're happy to answer any questions that the committee might have about the file. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any questions? Yep, go ahead, Councilor.
Okay, this looks like a great Paragon project. So that's your Front Street diagram there, Portage Avenue, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Where do you have your commercial unit?
The commercial unit is in the southwest corner, so basically adjacent to the Dairy Queen.
This front left.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
sorry, yeah.
right,
well,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
There we go.
Okay, so why don't you build it higher?
Yeah, good question.
Portage Avenue, we see what's going on Pembina Highway. You're in like a sweet spot for transit.
Yeah,
We just need to find more partners.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, in this particular case, with this particular development partner that Paragon is partnering with, which is a First Nation group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why the co-investment program really worked for this
Got it.
specific model. So it works for the model. Again, it is quite dense. We are asking for a large density variance, but that 7-story kind of framework through when they looked at the model for this project with their partner, this just seemed to really fit in terms of how much parking we could fit, how many units we could fit. So yeah,
And I guess the
Great question.
last question is about the community engagement.
that's right.
So was there much opposition, or I'm curious what goes on Portage Avenue versus Pembina Highway?
Yeah, for sure. So, at the first meeting, which I think is very typical, people had, I think, the usual concerns about things like, on-street parking, traffic, shadows, privacy. Those were probably the biggest ones. So we were able to work with them. We had a great turnout from particularly the folks directly to the north in the Kensington Place condos, some folks on Harcourt, some folks on Ronald, and then some from the church that shares the rear lane. They were kind of concerned about, visitors parking, maybe during Sunday service, things like that. So think through our process, the feedback that we got, the changes that we made that came out of the pre-app, and some of these, design tweaks like the balconies along the backside, the setbacks, some of the landscaping. Then when we came back for that second round of meetings, we got the sense that there wouldn't be any opposition, which is evidence here today. We're always happy when that happens, but it was a great discussion with the folks, and I think their message to us at that last round of meetings was that we seem to be able to have addressed their concerns through that final design. So yeah.
Super.
Councilor Duncan, any questions?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask around the height, and you mentioned community kind of, if you could describe it as opposition would be to the height. Was there a discussion that there's a 15-story building, multiple 15-story buildings next door?
Exactly. So that's an excellent point, and that did come up in the meeting. So Ports of St. James, as you know, it's basically directly across the street, and it's always one of those things where when a building is there and it's been there for 40 or 50 years, people are used to it and kind of just you don't mind. But if something new is coming, there's kind of that initial shock maybe of height and things like that, even though this building would be less than half of the height of Ports of St. James. So yeah, I think as planners in this context on a regional mixed use corridor, we feel that something even taller wouldn't be out of place, particularly in this location and with some of that city investment on transit and infrastructure in this location. So it ended up being more just the model that worked for 7 stories, but we wouldn't have been opposed to having a higher building as well.
So if you have any of the, I guess, numbers to help people understand when they say, well, it's on Portage Avenue, why would it not be the same height as the buildings adjacent? So you go from 7 stories, how much more investment does it require to go to 10, to go to 15, to go to 20?
Exactly. So there's a lot of considerations. So, things like the extra infrastructure in the building, like elevators and that, certain code requirements that are triggered at certain heights. And I'm not familiar with all the details of that, but I know that as you go higher, there can be additional implications, and then implications on city infrastructure as well. So I think as part of the ACG report, we were aware that, there's going to have to be an extension, of sewer to accommodate this. And that works with this model. If it were to be, say, double the height and double the units, then it's hard to say whether what the capacity would look like and what upgrades might need to be, and investments would need to be made to accommodate that.
So was there ever a larger scale project proposed to the public service on this?
I think in our pre-app, we included a 7-story and a 12-story, but they were both roughly the same number of units. So I think in terms of the servicing, as long as it stayed within that 140, 150 range, our end proposal here being 150, that it would have generally worked. But if we went much higher in terms of number of units, then that might have triggered new, potential paybacks or upgrades to, say, water mains.
So it was never a question of double the units?
No. And I think, there are a few limiting factors. I think one would have been parking. It is a relatively small site, just under an acre. And so it would have been, I think, a bit of a challenge to try to, without going maybe 2 or 3 levels underneath, which has its own implications, in terms of pumping water out and water table and things like that. So this just seemed to fit with the amount of parking we were able to do, the landscaping we were able to get, and things like setbacks and that.
So just around the commercial use on the southwest corner of the building, given, and I know you can't predict what tenants will come forward, but what would be the target for this developer for that space?
Another ice cream shop. No, just kidding.
Bring it down.
Yeah, exactly.
You probably could facilitate another one, right?
Yeah.
I've seen the lines, yeah.
That's great. But again, like you noted, not too sure at this point, but probably something like retail or maybe a coffee shop, that type of thing. It is still early, but we know from other similar projects that it can be a wide range. So that would probably be the next step. If this were to be approved, then those discussions would start in terms of potential tenants.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and I'd just like to make a couple of comments. I guess I can do that for, I think it's a great location. I I'm glad you didn't go 12 stories. Because of the shadow, for the simple reason of the shadow, that could have been an effect. 7 stories worked pretty good. You're right on bus transit, two major lines. It's ideal location. This is, to me, and having a bunch of affordable suites in there. That's great. Okay, I'm done.
All righty.
All right, so next to speak is Chris Soanes, here in support of the application. Do you wish to speak or?
I don't have anything else to add.
Okay.
Brandon did a great job, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then also Michael Stronger, wishes to speak in support or?
Seller and obviously. Close on our opinion.
Okay, and so just noting for the committee that there's no one else in the gallery in support of the application, no one else registered in opposition to the application, and there's no one in the gallery with respect to the application. So if there are questions for the public service.
No. No, I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions as well. Go ahead.
I did more so comment just on the consultation piece and, you know, obviously the partnership between the First Nations group and Paragon to utilize a consultant to bring in to discuss with the public and work with the public service obviously serves well today as we have a larger development going on here and we have 0 people in opposition. So I commend them for that.
Technically, the applicant is entitled to speak in rebuttal to comments made, but I'm not sure if you. You're good? Okay.
Okay. Okay, motion.
Okay, does anybody want to, are we allowed to do a motion now? Okay, who wants to move it?
Do you want me to take the chair and you move it as it's in your ward or?
It doesn't matter, I can if you like.
Yeah, okay, I'll
Okay,
take
you'll
the
take
chair.
the chair?
Yeah, sure.
I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
I move that the recommendations of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development. I believe that's where it goes.
Does it go to the?
Yeah, if there are no amendments, there's no one in opposition, so this one can go straight to EPC via
Okay,
priority.
skip that, go right to EPC
Okay.
via the priority rezoning process.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
And my supporting reasons are that I think this is a great project. It's housing, we need it, and there's a tremendous amount of affordable housing in this unit. So I think it's a great idea.
Okay. I'll just put some comments on the record
Go-
too. I
go
think
for
it's a
it.
great project. It's it's great partnership that Paragon has with an Indigenous community and the ability to offer such affordable housing due to the financing. So I think it's a great location on Portage Avenue, great beside an ice cream store. And I think it's really good. So any comments, Councilor Duncan?
Yeah, just to also touch on the not even passed yet Rapid Housing Accelerator Fund with this phase identifying Portage Avenue and Pembina Highway as one of the locations. This obviously is ideal for that as well.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
And I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted on the subdivision rezoning, and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
Okay.
Variance?
Now we have to do the variance.
Mhm.
Are you still the chair?
I'll still be the chair. Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I just go right into, all right. I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All in favor?
I move
Carried.
that the receipt of the public representations be concluded.
All in favor?
I
Carried.
I move that in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and that any applicable secondary plan does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway, and is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property and is compatible with the area in which property to be affected is situated.
Okay,
And my supporting reasons are virtually the same as I had on the last one. That's okay.
okay, all right, same for me too. Any other comments, Councillor Duncan? No, okay, all in favor?
I
Carried.
And I move that the recommendations of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and the variance be approved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
And I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
Favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Please note the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
I'll move for adjournment.
Okay, all
All
in
in
favor?
favor?
Carried.
Aye. Sure.
All right.
Meeting adjourned.